Those of you who are on your own journey and you are considering ayahuasca, reconsidering ayahuasca, I offer this video for you to let you know that on the other side of the journey is a whole new life and a whole new way of being that is waiting for you. And if you are someone who has been struggling with depression, with sadness, with inadequacy, with not enoughness, with the poor values of the West, with being involved in overproductivity and production and hustle, and you're tired, and you want another way, ayahuasca. Change your life. Hey, welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is part 2 of what ayahuasca taught me. And if you saw part 1, welcome to part 2. Let's get into it, starting with lesson number 5. The 5th lesson that I learned is having compassion and releasing criticism. Before ayahuasca, I was highly critical of myself, of others, of myself, of others, everything. I criticized everything. And I didn't do it from a space of being mean. I did it from a space of that was part of my Western mindset. Everything must be criticized. Everything must be critical thinking, and everything must be scrutinized, and everything must be dissected. Nothing can just be what it is. And so that way of being, while it is highly effective when you're perhaps problem solving or trying to get to the root of something, as someone who holds a master's from Harvard University in human development and psychology, yes, it's helpful. And as someone who is wanting to be in life and be able to be open to what life has for me, it can be hindering. And so ayahuasca taught me about this thing called compassion. When navigating the spiritual path, when navigating any path, but when navigating the spiritual path specifically, since we're talking about this, compassion is necessary because you are going to come into parts of yourself that you are more than likely have been running away from, have been ashamed of, have been really frustrated by, that you look at yourself and for whatever your reasons, you think less than, you experience not enoughness on levels that have you feeling depressed and have you feeling like you don't belong. And those particular vibrations and feelings go into your everyday life and they affect your thinking, your decision making, your ability to show up. And so compassion is a gift, and cultivating it is practice. And if you have been trying in this sort of everyday plane and it's not working, or you've done like therapy, Lord knows, shout out to therapy. Shout out to therapy. I'm in therapy myself. Like, I love therapy. My therapist, mwah. However, what I recognize is that plant medicine, what it does in one ceremony in one night is what it might take 10 years of therapy to get through. And so it's like warp speed. It's like going through like a light year and putting this healing right into you that is there and available and accessible, that therapy, for all its wonderful ways, still has not been able to figure out. And so plant medicine gave me the gift of compassion in ways that my therapy sessions, my self-work sessions, my self-help books, they were logical, but when it came time to practice and put them into place, no, because that neuron that was so connected to criticism, that trust and belief in my own mind to criticize and dissect the thing and call it a thing and make that truth, was stronger than my ability to offer compassion. So what I learned about compassion In my ayahuasca ceremonies, we have these integration talks, and my teacher, Spring Washam, she offered this analogy of compassion cookies. And so she said that, when you're sitting with ayahuasca, a lot of times what will happen is these demons will come up. And I use the word demons not in this biblical Christian sense or Hollywood horrific sense of like these scary horror things. I use the word demons in the sense that it's a confused energy. And so it's not a thing to spook you, but it's an energetic imbalance that might be attached to a trauma or something that you just haven't processed that is confused state of energy. And that confusion thrives off of the fear, the resentment, the anger, the frustration. And so when you give it that, it becomes even more, right? How many of us have sat with our own inner demons, our own inner skeletons, our own inner ish? And when we sit with it, we feel angry, we feel more resentful, we feel more scared. We feel all these feelings on the more negative spectrum of things, and that just gives it more energy, and it doesn't make it go away. But you know what does make it go away? Compassion. And so she said, when those come up, give it a compassion cookie. Literally, like, you know what? I know what you need here. Give it a compassion cookie. Who doesn't love cookies? Like when you were little and you were crying and somebody offered you a cookie or a hug or something, it made it feel better. And eventually it made it go away. And so she said, when you give the compassion cookie, it almost doesn't know what to do with it, that it just kind of settles back down. And when you settle down into a settled energy, you're able to look at whatever trauma, issue, problem you're dealing with without a critical mind, but with a compassionate heart. And in that compassionate heart, you're able to see your way back to wholeness and wellness and healing. And so that compassion cookie, listen, that has helped me so much in this, it's like I said, it's been a year and my life has completely changed. And the compassion is a huge part of it. The sixth lesson that I learned was to stop comparing myself and to start singing my song. And one of the songs was basically about now that we're singing a song, we're no longer waiting, we are awakening. And we all have a song inside of us. We all have a song inside of us, and you know it. You know your song because you've probably been singing it since you were little. It's probably been a song that's been on repeat. It might be a song that you might have quieted or muted or dimmed or turned the volume down because when you looked out at present day life through your current lens, your current focus, it might have seemed like your song wasn't possible. And I just want to remind you that the song that lives inside of you is worth singing. If you just open your mouth, all you have to do is just open your mouth and let it out. You don't even have to think about the lyrics because it lives inside of you. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to get it right because it lives inside of you. It's ordained and it's divine. 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 This song, this music is yours. It's what was given to you. And it's the music that can guide your steps. Now that I'm singing my song, I trust my steps. I trust my steps. If you feel like your steps have been not your own, like you've been walking in someone else's shoes or in someone else's path, or the path you're on is the one that you know isn't necessarily the one you're supposed to be on, but you're in it, you're on it. It's been your routine, it's been your habit, it's been your life, and you want to change it. Start with your song. Start with your song. In your song is all the instructions you'll need. In your song is the guide. All you have to do is open your mouth and let it out. Don't think about the lyrics because they live within inside of you. And those lyrics are instructions. Those lyrics are guides. Now that I'm singing my song, I trust my steps. I trust my steps now that I'm singing my song. I trust my steps. I trust my steps. And you can trust your steps too. Sing your song. It's inside of you. It lives inside of you. Sing your song. Sing it. Oh. Now that I'm singing my song, I trust myself. I trust myself. Now that I'm singing my song, I trust myself. I trust myself. My God. Oh my God. Okay, so I was definitely someone who did a lot of comparing. I compared everything. Compared my body, compared my accomplishments, compared my journey, compared my life, compared my achievements. And it started as just like, again, the West. So much of what ayahuasca did for me was deprogram the West out of me. And I'm so grateful for it because I my conscious mind knows that Western values are not where it's at for me. It knows that, being more rooted in family values and community in a heart-centered space is more aligned with my natural way of being. But growing up in the United States, there was an education system that implemented values by way of training you to think a certain way, think critically, compare this to that. And so the way that you're tested, the way that you get to excel in performance is based on your criticism and your comparison. And then you're compared to everyone else and how you line up. And so they will say it's a healthy dose of competitive nature, but what am I competing against? Nature is not in competition. Nature is in collaboration. Nature is in harmony. Nature is its own divine order, and it's that this tree is not competing with this one. This leaf is not saying, well, I need to be like you. No, they are what they are. And so in being who they are, singing their song, they create a level of diversity that we all get to benefit and value from. And that is where comparison robs us. And so what I recognized and learned in ayahuasca is that every time I compare myself to someone, I was actually taking away vital life resources from my own journey because I was spending time comparing to this person, and then in that comparison, most of the time I was coming up short. No matter how fabulous I am, no matter how much greatness I've done, no matter how dope I be, I still would find a way to come up short because you could always be better. That's the mindset. You could always be better. Ma'am, I am best. I am best for me. And not only am I best for me, but my best is not in comparison or by anyone else's standards. It's by my own. And I know when I'm operating at a lesser vibration, a lesser level for Shelley. But when I'm comparing to other folks, I'm taking away the energy to be in my best. And so what ayahuasca taught me was that yes, you end up killing parts of yourself every time you compare yourself, but you can be revived. And you get revived by deciding for yourself what it is that you want for you and then living up to that. And I decided for me that I want ease, I want love, and I want joy. I want ease, I want love, and I want joy. And then I decided that I don't just want it, I am it. I am ease, I am love, I am joy. And by focusing on that, that allowed me to decide for myself that there's nothing else out there that matters compared to what's happening in here. And so releasing comparison and singing your song so that you can trust yourself is one of the greatest gifts that ayahuasca gave and continues to give. So, yeah, if you compare yourself to others, oh, oh my God, and you find that it's hard not to, I get it. Ayahuasca can help. The seventh lesson that I learned with ayahuasca was how to be more integrated with nature. And I've always loved green spaces, but having lived in New York for the past 10 years, and having since moved out after ayahuasca, I was really separated from a lot of that. And I don't think I realized how much it was affecting my mental health to see buildings and grayness and brick and gray skies most of the time because the sun was blocked out, or most of the time because when it's winter, there is no sun. Oh my God, very challenging for my mental health. And I could feel it, I knew it. I really was someone who suffered from SAD, seasonal affective depression, which would come every October and it wouldn't leave until May. And so I got this short little period of time not to be sad, but to experience SAD for more than 6 months out the year, for 10 years was a lot for my system. Ayahuasca cleared it out though. And so, I got more integrated with nature, and one of the things that particularly I got integrated with were cockroaches. Now, if you were like me and you grew up in the 80s and the 90s, you probably remember the commercials of the Orkin Man. And the Orkin Man was like a Ghostbuster, and he had his little chemical assault weapon on his back, and he'd come into your house and spray all the pests, all the roaches, the bugs, the things. And ayahuasca, in one of my ceremonies, reprocessed my mind to understand what was truly happening. That was the West way of separating me from nature. That was the West way of using media to disconnect me from myself and to teach me that I should be afraid of the natural world, that the natural world is here to get me, that it's something that will take away my life. I can't survive in it. It's a pest. It's a bother. We should kill that which bothers us. We should kill that which bothers us. And so that mindset of killing that which bugs you, and the idea that a bug is something that is bugging you, the actual term. But bugs are not bugs, they're insects. And so that got reoriented in my mind, and I had never thought about that before, that there's no such thing as bugs, there are insects. And to disrespect the insect world is to disrespect the foundation of nature and of itself. The insect world is here to remind us of the sonic resonance of the earth. When you hear the insects, you hear the earth. I was outside. I did a lot outside. I prefer to be outside than inside, to be honest, because the trees, the stars, the bats, the cockroaches, and the Amazon, the water of the river were all medicine for me. I can't. All I know is that I had lots of insects landing on me, and my old instinct was kill it. Something's on you, kill it. And I realized that comes from this idea, this mindset, this value that we pick up in here in the West. If something bothers you, if something bugs you, you get rid of it, you kill it.
Yeah.
And so what happens then, we take that and we're like, oh, we just kill everything that bothers us, instead of getting to the root of, well, why are we bothered? Are we bothered at the very existence? Because that same mindset is what makes colonizers go over and kill the people in other people's land. Well, we don't like you. You're bothering us. You're in our way. So, and that moment when they be like walking on me, I could feel that their little, I want to call them paw prints. What do insects have? Like their little legs, whatever. What they were doing was tapping a code into my vibration. So you know how you ever heard of tapping before, like how that's a form of therapy?
Yeah.
That's what the insects were doing. So they weren't landing on me just to annoy me, which is what my old mindset was. No, they were sent as a part of the natural rhythm and vibration of the universe. At the time they were sent because I was working on healing myself of something, and they were the medicine. So they would come and they would tap into energy. And I kid you not, after they would leave, I would feel my neuron reconfigure itself in my brain. I would be able to get the lesson, and I'd also purge. And in ayahuasca, I was in Peru in the Amazon rainforest, and so I would hear the dawn be signaled in by this chorus of insects, and then I would hear the dusk be signaled in by this other chorus of insects. And so they played a role in setting the rhythm and the tone of the day. But not only that, insects are ancient. Like, they've been here for a very, very long time. And we have been taught in the West to fear them as if they are going to bite us, give us a dis-ease, kill us. How many of you are scared of spiders? How many of you are terrified of cockroaches? For me, how many of you are scared of bees? That was me. If I saw a cockroach, I killed on demand. I killed on demand, and that, even my hand hurts to do that, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine how much life I took away simply because I was scared. But what the mindset does is it teaches you to kill that which annoys you, kill that which bugs you, kill that which you fear, without you actually realizing and sitting with yourself, why am I annoyed? Why am I bugged? Why am I fearful? It's not this thing. The fear is inside of me, and the fear is implanted in me because of a message that I received through the media. So for killing anything, kill the messages that the media feeds you about who you are and who you're not, and decide for yourself. Become more integrated and aligned with nature and your more natural self. Another thing I learned is the incredible job that cockroaches do. And so cockroaches exist they probably exist for many reasons. But the reason I got in touch with an ayahuasca is that they exist to take all of the matter that is no longer beneficial, like our waste for us, and it takes all that matter and then it basically composts it. It is nature's compost system. And they've been around forever, y'all. Like, we have to respect the wisdom of their ability to be around and survive. And what they do is they take all of that waste matter and they compost it and give it back into the earth. And then in the earth, the soil takes that matter and uses that as fertilizer to grow what you see around. And so when you see beautiful flowers, right? When you see beautiful flowers, when you see fruit, when you see produce, when you see vegetation, when you see plant medicine coming up, that is a result of the work that those roaches did. And so there's a way in which I just had a reverence and a gratitude for their existence. And y'all, it was not easy, okay? This was my birthplace right here. This is where it began. This is where I reconnected to earth. This is where I laid down with lots of trust because I was scared. I was so scared to put my bare feet and my bare hands on this earth. And I sat here, I was facing that way. So this is a downward slope. And I sat here and slowly but surely, I became one with the earth. And then down there called me. And I rolled down this hill all the way down there. And I was reborn. So this is my birthplace. This is my home. I had to go through quite the time because I had so much fear about what they were, what the Orkin man had planted into me. And now you know what I fear? I fear the Orkin man, because every time he sprays his chemicals, his pesticides, it means that there's toxins being put not only into their bodies, into your homes, but into your body as well. So yeah, like when I tell you I completely reintegrated and realigned with nature, ayahuasca. I can't even imagine living in a city like New York again because of how toxic it was. But I didn't know, because at that time I was sick. I wasn't well, but ayahuasca got me well. And now in my wellness, I am living in spaces where there's greenery, where there's balance. I still love a good city. I love to go to listen to live music and Go to brunch at a place that serves like balanced food and, like go take in an event or two. But when it comes to rebalancing and returning home, this is the space. Now, ooh, child, this is number 8. Now, this is a little challenging. So this is Amazon. All right, this is for all my, the 8th thing that Amazon brought me, I'm still a little challenged with it, was to cancel my Amazon subscription. Now, I'm going to offer this to you because I know many of you use Amazon because it's convenient. Hello, like it's convenient. It has everything, and don't be a Prime member and get your stuff next day, same day. Like, come on, the urgency. But yes, you said you ordered it today and it's here in 5 minutes. Like, oh my God, what is this magic? Oh my goodness. But ayahuasca said that we need to be aware. And ayahuasca said that we need to check our relationship with consumerism and capitalism. So here's what ayahuasca revealed to me. One day I was looking at the riverbanks, the Amazon River, and just looking at like the life around. I mean, just it's incredible out there. Like it's incredible. So I'm looking at this and I'm just taking it all in. And what I see and what I experience is that this is the Amazon. And then Amazon said, the Amazon, as in the company, is copyright infringement. So what Amazon got me present to is that there's an entire generation of humans who don't know what it is to live without the internet. My generation is the last generation to know what it is to live without the internet and then life after the internet. As a matter of fact, when I was in college, hello, shout out to Spelman. When I was in college, the internet was there, but the internet was something that you went to research, if that. I still was using periodicals, journals, books to do most of my research. I was still going to the library using the card catalog system until it got online, hello JSTOR, to then get more information. I was typing my papers on the computer, but then printing it and turning in a handwritten copy. I wasn't submitting digital files. And so my life, I have an understanding at this point in my life where up until about a good 20 years of my life was lived without a heavy reliance, insistence on computer technology. And so I know what it is to go to the store to go buy a thing. I know what it is to order from a catalog, like a magazine catalog. They send JCPenney magazine, send you and you order what you want and then they send it to you. And so there's an entire generation of people now who literally have no idea what that's like. And so Amazon has become the provider. And Amazon has created, the company has created a false dependency for people. So Amazon has positioned itself in this market, this consumer capitalist market, as the provider for everything you need. Whatever you want, you get it on Amazon. Now, what the Amazon rainforest said to me is, I want you to make people aware that this is copyright infringement, because I am the rainforest. I am the provider. I provide for all of life. Without me, there is no life. If my life, the Amazon rainforest, is not sustained, every other place, habitat, community, ecosystem on Earth will suffer. When you cut down my trees to create packaging for your Amazon warehouse to give the goods that you're delivering to people, you are essentially cutting off the oxygen supply, the lungs of the Earth. And by cutting that off, you are suffocating the Earth and all of its inhabitants. And so Amazon, the company, is positioning itself as the provider when the true provider is the rainforest. The rainforest provides everything we need, including plant medicine like ayahuasca. And so what Amazon does is it leaches energy from people's wallets in the form of money. Hello, how many of you need to really check your Amazon spending? And it also leaches energy in the form of oxygen and trees and habitats from the Amazon, because it's cutting it down to use the materials to create packaging, build. And then in addition, the plastic packaging that's used does not break down. Plastic is not a renewable resource. Plastic ends up being and sitting and collecting in our oceans because they throw them away. And then the plant life, the fish, ends up consuming, getting those microplastics, and we end up becoming part of that as well because we eat them and we get microplastics inside of us. And so ayahuasca, the Amazon rainforest, showed me what was happening and asked me to ask you that if you have an Amazon account, that you cancel it. You cancel your Amazon subscription because Amazon is, I mean, not to mention the union stuff, like there's so many other stuff, but from a metaphysical and earth perspective, Amazon is leeching your energy, and it is creating a false idea of who your true provider and source is. And you may be thinking, well, what am I supposed to do if I don't have Amazon? Stores still exist. Online shopping has its downfalls, and so it's just a warning. And just consider that whatever you need, and a lot of the things you really don't, it's a want, but to begin to check your relationship with consumerism and capitalism and restore your relationship with nature. So the ninth lesson that I got from ayahuasca was about spices and seasoning. Now, if you've been watching The Mindful Plate for quite some time, then you know that I'm all about flavorful food, and I love it. Like, who doesn't love seasoning their food? So instead of like retelling the story, I'm just going to read because I journaled while I was there, and I'm just going to read from my journal what happened with this particular scenario. So. During my first ayahuasca ceremony, I got present to the accumulation of seasonings and spices and peppers in my system. And while she was gathering and sweeping them away and out into my colon, she allowed them to kind of settle at a space in my body so I could feel them. During ayahuasca, there's a lot of like, for me, there was a very present internal feeling of all the things that were being taken out of me. And one of the ways that I purged was through vomit, but also through stool. And so I could feel things depositing into my colon, being ready and prepared for elimination. So these spices and these seasonings, I could feel like these spices and seasonings like accumulating in my colon. And mind you, you don't eat spicy things or seasonings before in your dieta, before when you're preparing for ayahuasca. So for me, I was like, oh, this is just accumulated stuff in my body, right? And so what they began to feel like was this really oily substance, and it was spicy too, like an oily, spicy substance that was queasy and uncomfortable and overall like yucky, right, and mucky. I just didn't like the feeling. It just felt like, oh, get this out of me. I could not wait to take a poo. But when you're in ayahuasca, you gotta wait. You gotta wait till it's time. So she's like gathering all this stuff, and it feels gross. And so my first thought was like, wait a minute, do I have to give up spicy foods? Is that what you're about to tell me? Like, wait, my whole Mindful Plate channel, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to eat? And her reply said, you need to fall back because it's too much for the body. And you need to focus less on dried flavorings like Victoria's Gourmet, which is a spice brand that I really enjoyed, or McCormick, or any of them. And you need to also fall back on some of your West African flavors that are very strong, and focus more on your green seasoning blends and natural herbs like thyme, cilantro, lime, onion, garlic, ginger, small amounts, cinnamon, citrus zest, etc. So she showed me an image of myself throwing away most of my spices or giving them away, and then focusing on making my own blends. And that's exactly what I did. So I got rid of a lot of it. I mean, I whittled it down to probably about like 10. But she also brought me back to my childhood, where I remembered that I could not manage nor care for spicy, peppery, hot food. Like, as a child, I hated pepper. I thought it ruined dishes because it was just too much. I couldn't take it. I was just like naturally not prone to pepper. But as I began to work in food and cook and cater and personal chef and the YouTube channel, like I really, really prided myself on the spices and the seasonings and, these African oriented traditions and of how we use pepper, our ability to hold heat, the way that we embrace spice. Like we are, after all, spicy people, and we use spice in our language. We weren't quiet, we move with power and fire, and I liked it. And I'm particularly talking about my Jamaican side and my Ghanaian side and my Gabonese side. Like there's a fire and an oomph that I loved about us. And so we ruled and we vibrated, and we weren't docile nor servants. And I think so much of that had to do with what we fed ourselves, that pepperiness, that spice, that flavor. And I thought that pepperiness was the contributor to it. And so I wanted it. I began to build my tolerance for it, and I wanted it in my food. Although, because of my early aversion to it as a child, I never wanted it in the foreground, like when you first put it in your mouth and it's like, ooh, pepper. I always wanted it like to hit right here when you swallow. And it's just kind of like in the background, and it's like a warm hug sending my food down. Just like, yeah, just a hint of pepper. And here it was, Mama Aya was saying, no, no. She said, taste my food as it is. Don't pile on the seasonings and the spices. Don't treat me as if I'm bland, because I'm not. Make room for my natural taste to heal and expand you. Meet me where I am, as I am, without adorning me, with pimientos and scotch bonnets and jalapenos and curries and powders and spice blends. Let me talk to you in my native tongue. Taste me just as I am. Spend some time in my naked arms. Let me teach your taste buds a new way, a way that doesn't overwhelm the system. Don't worry, you're going to use spice and you're going to use flavor because your human sensibilities require it. And your body system requires balance. So let me learn you balance. And that was mind blowing and eye opening for me. And so what I realized what happened is that in ayahuasca, what happens is that she rebalances and shifts and change your taste buds. And so if you are like prone to eating salty, sweet, whatever you're prone to overindulge in, ayahuasca will shift it and change you into balance. And so what I found was that my desire for overly sweet things or overly seasoned things or overly spicy things or overly salty things had been taken away. And what I was allowed to truly experience was food in its natural way. And so in the West, because fat, oil, and sugar and flavorings and additives are a huge part of how food is created and packaged, especially if you're eating a lot of processed foods, etc., your taste buds have been hijacked. And so when you eat something like an apple or a carrot or a banana or a potato, it might taste a little like womp womp, bland to you compared to something that is highly seasoned, like some fried chicken from Popeyes or Oreo cookie or your favorite chips or whatever. And so I found that I was able to truly enjoy what is. And one of the lessons, which I talked about in the Dieta video, was that ayahuasca said, eat what I offer. Eat what I offer. And so what I offer means like what is coming from the land, what comes from the plants that grow from the ground, not the factory plant that is processing and creating food. And the rebalancing of my taste buds allowed for rebalancing of my body because I was no longer craving things that no longer benefited me. And so I also found that my eating stabilized. There was less prone to overindulge. There were no instances of needing emotional eating because so much of my emotions had been processed already. And I was able to satisfy my taste buds because my taste buds had been reset. And then the 10th thing that I learned was in ayahuasca, I awakened for the benefit of all beings everywhere. So many times when we're on a spiritual journey, we are thinking about ourselves in the West. The West has this thinking that it is an individual journey and that we are on our own and that it is man against nature and it is manifest destiny and blah, 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 blah. Get rid of that. Get rid of it. In ayahuasca, we awaken for the benefit of all beings everywhere. Beings, insects, rabbits, whatever, beings, other people, because your awakeness, your enlightenment, your journey, your path is not just for you. If you're making it about you, you're missing the whole point, because you are connected to an entire universe, an entire system, an entire world. And when you awaken, when you come online, when you come back alive, everything benefits. Everything benefits. And so this awakening, this vibration, this level of healing and being, I am forever grateful for. And for those of you who are on your own journey and you are considering ayahuasca, reconsidering ayahuasca, I offer this video for you to let you know that on the other side of the journey is a whole new life and a whole new way of being that is waiting for you. And if you are someone who has been struggling with depression, with sadness, with inadequacy, with not enoughness, with the poor values of the West, with being involved in overproductivity and production and hustle, and you're tired, and you want another way, ayahuasca. Change your life. All right, you all. I look forward to reading your comments, answering any questions you may have. And if you haven't already, check out the other videos that I've created, which is the dieta, how to prepare for it, how to think about it, as well as should Black people do ayahuasca? That's a mind-blowing one of my favorite videos that I've put out. And yeah, I hope you enjoy.